Hi, my name is Celine and welcome to my channel. Being true to yourself, and is it now more important than ever? That's the topic I want to discuss today. I think it's always been important, but it is more important these days, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I also want to share some tips with you for how you can make sure you're being true to yourself and doing what is best for you in your life. So just to, I suppose, share how I am qualified to talk on this topic. But from experience, firstly, I've talked about this before, but I suppose I've had many challenges in my life. The most recent was breast cancer back in 2016, 5 years ago. So now as I look back on my life and the intervening years, and I've learnt and grown and changed and a lot, I can say I'm living from a very different place. I didn't know how to live in a way that was true to me, to be honest. I really didn't. I probably had a sense sometimes that things didn't feel right, but I really didn't know how to do anything or that I could do anything about it. And in the intervening years, I've gone on and I can say I'm living a life that's totally true to me now. It's a very different life. On the outside, it may not look like a better life to some people, depending on what your perspective on life is. But for me, it is, I couldn't be living a truer life that gives me such peace and happiness. Still have challenges, still have problems, sometimes more, because, when you take the steps to change and be true to yourself, it can be challenging because you're choosing to grow and you're choosing to go outside your comfort zone and you're choosing to stretch and you're choosing to face, your issues and your traumas and take responsibility for your life. But I mean, the prize is just magic. I wouldn't live any other way. So I can say that has been my own journey, and I can still continue to work on myself and learn and grow. But going from victimhood, believing I had no power and I didn't know what my truth was, to now feeling, I'm responsible for my life, for what I create. Don't have control over everything, but I am have the ability to create with everything, our words, our thoughts, our actions, the energy we're giving out. And I'm living in my truth. So life experience. I'm also a qualified life coach. So I trained as a life coach post-cancer because I wanted to learn new tools and skills and understandings about how I could live differently to the way I had been living. I knew there had to be a better way. And, again, that has involved, facing, my own challenges, areas I needed to change in, being more, when I say responsibility, I don't mean that in a very judgmental way. I just mean that we have huge abilities and powers that we're not aware of, and when you really choose to say, okay, I'm gonna do this and try this and see what it's like to be really true and in my power, it's just phenomenal, the shifts and the changes that happen for you. It has evolved into a more intuitive way of living for me and coaching. So that's sort of been a work in progress for me ever since I qualified, and it's continually evolving as I learn what works in my life, because the way I would relate to other people or work with other people is, I don't talk about or share things really, unless I've been through them myself. So I am speaking from a place of credibility and truth. And thirdly, I suppose I'm a published author, and I'm soon to publish my second book again. Some of this topic is covered in it, as are many topics. It's called Gifts from the Devastation. And it is that journey that I hope anyone who reads the book will feel, firstly, that they are not alone, that I share what it was like to go through many challenges in my life, the last, I hope, well, the big one, cancer, wake-up call, and how that, and I share honestly how that was, how difficult, what I went through, what I learned. And then I share towards the end also the tools and the skills as best as I could, sort of condense them in a way that I hope will give people hope, and also maybe prompt them to see that, this is there for everybody. So I hope that people will take great hope, and it will give them the impetus to to try and take the steps to live differently and honour their truth. So that's, I suppose, that's the book. So yeah, and what do I mean when I say by being true, living truthfully, as yourself, or true to yourself? To me, that really is about honouring, really being in your body and feeling and experiencing everything, good, bad, not blocking anything you don't want to feel or any experience that is uncomfortable, because when you do that, then you become present. And when you become present, you are very connected to your intuition, which is the voice of that higher aspect of yourself, that wise part that nobody knows better than what's true and right for you. So you can really access that and learn to trust it. Your gut instinct, it's another way, we often feel things naturally, in our stomach if something feels off or right or wrong. So it's recognizing that and feeling it, but it's also then trusting it. That's key, because I think often we don't trust it. So it's trusting it and taking action from there in your life. So that's, to me, what living and being true to yourself is about. So why do we even need to talk about this topic? You would think it's natural that we all are true to ourselves and do what's right for us, but we don't. Well, not that I'm aware of. Maybe some people do. I didn't for years. I do think we're born instinctively knowing what is our truth and what is right for us. You can see it in babies and animals and young children. And some people have that, where they just know, they have a very, self-possessed way of knowing what's right. And not arrogant. They just, they can feel into what's right for them. And they trust that. But I suppose the issue is, then what happens is, the systems, the cultures, the families, the organizations, the world we have most of us grown up in, has conditioned or programmed, another word, us to believe that, we need to go outside of ourselves to see what is right and what is true. And I think that is, one of the most damaging things, really, because, and I suppose my sense is why they do that is because it gives them power. It gives, and individuals as well, it gives them power, and particularly if, that leads people to be in fear a lot, because if you don't believe you've any power, or, you don't know how to access the truth for yourself, you will look outside, and that can leave you feeling very vulnerable. And as long as people are like that, they can be controlled and manipulated. And we see this in individual relationships. We see it with our organizations, with systems, with governments. And I do believe it is very prevalent in the world today. I think this is, what we're all being faced with, is stepping up into honouring our truth, despite what is going on in the world. And it's not a topic for this video. It's just, I feel it's a time in the world where it is even more important for us. And as I said, it's a lot of these systems, the way things have been set up, they do this so they can keep their power. But I think once we come back and learn how to honor what is true for us, then you're free. Nobody knows. It's interesting when you think of it. Nobody can know what's best for you other than you. Nobody knows your life experiences. Nobody knows what you've been through, ups, downs, good, bad. Nobody knows your worries, your fears, your hopes, your dreams, all of that. How could anyone tell you what is true for you? Yes, and I think it's a good thing to do. I do it myself. I do research. It's good to think critically. It's good to have an open mind, and there's some amazing teachers I learn from every day, particularly spiritual teachers, but also in other fields, depending on what the topic is. So we take all of that in, that's really valuable. That's where our mind is. It allows us to discern and to look. Well, it allows us to analyze and take all this information in, and then we come back in and we see what is true for us. And that's really living in your power. You're using all of those faculties to make your decisions. So that's, I feel, and once you're doing that, I was just thinking of another side of that. I think as well, often my sense would have been before, I just want to talk a little bit about my experience, maybe, just to bring that a bit more to life. So like I said, I had my life pre-cancer and post-cancer. And if I was to sum up, I suppose the differences, as I said, I don't think I was living a life that was true to myself before. I was living a life that I believed I had to live, and I didn't often feel I fitted in it, but I didn't know there was another way. So I had become accustomed to ignoring, the voice or the niggles and the feelings inside that was telling me that something was off. Whereas I don't do that anymore. I can't afford to do that, and I don't want to do that. Life's too precious, and so I do always listen to that inner voice. I also have much healthier boundaries. I didn't know anything about boundaries before that. And really all that means is, again, it's just honouring your truth. And any situation, any person, anything that is, when you start to feel very uncomfortable or unwell, or something is telling you that it's off, that's okay to say, no, this isn't okay for me. That's self-respect, and that's self-care, and that's honouring you and your truth. And it isn't about anyone else or any other system. It's just you honouring and taking responsibility for your life. So that's been a big shift for me too. Another one, and these have all helped me come back into knowing what's right and true for me. I really have left that way of being as a victim, which I did live a lot like that. It's sort of maybe sounds like quite a strong word to use, but feeling very, that I'd no power in my life, that everything was about what other people told me, and it isn't. And it's a big step to sort of go, okay, no, I'm going to own now my decisions and honouring what's true for me. And, that's how we create, through our words, our actions, our beliefs, everything. So that was another big shift. And I was also very stuck in my head. So I think it's a lot about this shift of coming, and the only way you can come back into your truth is you have to come down out of the head, into the heart, into the body. Our head, as I said, our mind and our intellect are all very important, but, we have been programmed and conditioned to believe and live in a very limited way. But when we sort of shift, and that can leave us very much in fear. And as I said, when we live in fear, we can be controlled. And what I will say is true for me is I don't fear anything anymore. I really don't. I'll have moments of getting stressed and worried. I go back to my old habits. But, when I was diagnosed with cancer, and you could say it could be one of your worst fears. And I did face, even though I had a very treatable cancer, at the same time, it had spread to my lymph nodes. And, for me, I manifested that in my life. I found it a very empowering way to look at it, but I know I did by suppressing who I was. So I have no worries around that and illness anymore, because I know what I need to do. But in being faced with that possibility, I realised there was nothing to fear. If I did die, we're all going to die. I don't fear death. Sorry, I'm getting onto a bit of a morbid subject, but I suppose the point is about the fears is, even if they were to materialise, they generally don't. Why spend all of your life worrying and in fear of them? Like, would it not be better just to enjoy life even if they are going to happen? I mean, it sounds to me a much nicer way to live, a lot more miserable, which I was a lot in that fear. So I've come out of that fear because I've come out of my head a lot, and I'm more in my body and my heart, and I feel very connected to that spiritual side of myself, to my spirit. And that is real. You can call it God, universe, source, energy, whatever you want, higher self, nature. It's real. And even though it's not visible, sometimes it is to people, but not necessarily for most of us. It's the non-physical world. It is very real, and I can testify to it because I feel it every day and I experience it every day. And that power and that, having access to that is just amazing. That's your truth. So that, again, has been a big shift. So that's sort of been my experience of going from not living in my truth to now living a very different life. And it might look to other people, may not look like a better life to other people, but that doesn't matter to me. It is. And it's what's going on inside. So that's a lot of what I share and more in my book. So my tips that I want to finish up on, if I were to leave you, I've covered some of them. Some of these things you may do already. I just feel it's just a topic that came to me, and I just felt I really need to talk about this because I'm very grateful that I have gone through a lot of this in the last 5 longer years. So, no matter what happens even in the world, I feel very grounded in my truth. And that's a very good place to be. So my top tips are, number one, I would say as much as you can, and I talk about this all the time, and a lot of things I do repeat because they're different topics, but it's all the same sort of lessons and messages that I find have really worked for me. So I hope they work for you, and I'm sure you'll find many others. This is just my perspective. But coming back into the body is key. I'll say it again because I never was in my body. I was so ungrounded. So whatever you need to do that, to come back physically into your body so that you can feel and experience everything. And part of that, unfortunately, is feeling your traumas, all the stuff that you have not processed fully in your life and stuffed down. They have to be processed for you to really, really access your truth clearly and without any doubt, because when there's trauma there, that's what comes up when you're present, and you then want to avoid it, which I did, and then you can't hear your intuition. So, lots of help around that, but number one top tip, to be in the body. That's where you hear your intuition, that's where you feel the gut instinct, and to start sensing the energy. So the energy is another aspect. Everything is energy, and whatever way you understand that in your life, I'd encourage you to explore. And maybe, I've done a lot of, as well as reading and experiencing, I've done a lot of training in different energy therapies. So I know the power, and I know it's all energy because I've seen amazing things happen in my own life and in other people's lives. So even once you clear out trauma as well, you just becomes very clear. Like I can even if I hear something or I see something or whatever, I can straight away, my energy field will nearly tell me it'll go on alert or it'll feel very relaxed, and so I can tell what is right or wrong, by really, but that again takes practice, and it does take trusting it. Being more in the heart, which, as I said, coming down from the head, we still use our minds, but I do believe we're moving into a more heart-based world. And it doesn't have to be all lovey-dovey, even though lovey-dovey is great, but I don't mean it in that sort of romantic sense. I mean, the heart, as far as I know, I think I read this, it could be the Heart Math Institute, that the electromagnetic field of the heart is 60 times more powerful than the brain. So that just shows you the field and the power, and that's how we connect to that, as I said, our spirit, whatever that is for you, but it is real. And, I can't believe that, in a way, I denied myself that for so many years. I did, because I didn't know the power of it. I was conditioned to believe, no, that's all woo-woo. No, this is really grounded, really powerful gifts and that we've been given. And I think we've been conditioned to believe we don't have. So coming back into the heart allows us access it. And also to be aware of whatever systems you are part of in your life. It's going to be different for everyone. And people, anything or anyone that is telling you that what you are feeling is not valid is basically gaslighting you. That's what gaslighting is telling you that how you are feeling is not valid. No, that's not okay. And that isn't okay, because you honouring your truth is what's most important. So I would just say pay attention to that in your life, because it's real warning signs if you feel that happening to you in any situation. And I think the key of it all, really, we are going through, I think it's a sort of a speeded up, we're at a very an amazing and challenging stage of our evolution on the earth. And the key, and I've learned this, I don't claim that I've come up with this wisdom, but from listening to lots of different people I follow who I'm learning still so much from, is this is about mastery. So all of the things like I talked about, even, spiritual principles and ways of being in the world, it's not enough. It's not just talking about these in an airy-fairy way. I think really brave, courageous, grounded living is you take these principles and you apply them. So you're not just talking about them, you're walking your talk. And it's not easy, because it takes, I found it, and I still can find it very challenging, but only that I've seen the rewards, and it just the just it's magic, as I keep saying, when you see when you begin to see who you really are, and nobody can show that, or nobody can, that's what we find in ourselves. It's like, wow, nothing for me ever compares. The prize is, this is just one prize. You are true to you. You are free. And it is there for each of us. So if I leave you on that note, it would be, I hope that you learn, if you're not already doing it, to honour, to listen, to be true to you, to trust you, and to make decisions that are right for you. They are never, decisions that come from a truthful, honourable place in yourself are never wrong for anyone else. We often hear of situations, maybe someone disappears from your life or vice versa, and it can feel sad, but you always find in the longer term, if it happens, it's better for both of you for whatever reason, and maybe you come back together again. That's just one example, but this isn't selfish. This is about honouring what's true for you. So I'll finish on that note. I hope you found this helpful. I just want to remind you, if you like my content, please like and subscribe to the channel. My free guide, 6 Signs You're Getting a Spiritual Wake-Up Call. So that's a good start, I suppose. And I share some of the wake-up calls I got in my own life in that free guide. You can click on the link below to get your copy and to be on my mailing list, so I can share lots more content with you. Won't overload you, only things that I think might be of interest, and tell you about my new book, which is also available to pre-order. Link is in the description box, as is my first book. So thank you for watching, and until the next time, take care. Bye.